another huge story this week. I think you've mentioned it for months. Uh, a bunch of people have tested positive for COVID-19 at the WWE Performance Center. Uh, we had mentioned how up until last week, WWE had not been testing for COVID. They had just been doing temperature checks where they check your temperature before you come in. And then they also give you a questionnaire that you fill out, like where you've been, have you been, anywhere where you could have been exposed. Then last week, a developmental talent who was, in the crowd at an NXT taping, apparently they went on their own and got tested for COVID. And the result came back positive. WWE issued a statement to media saying that, we did have a developmental talent who tested positive. So this week we're going to have everyone test for COVID-19. They did those tests and then taped television, that later that week. And they did another round of tests. And apparently it appears there's close to 24 people. That's one where the numbers are anywhere from 10 to 2 dozen. WWE is not releasing the names. Several people have come out on social media saying that they do have it, that they have the virus. Most notably, Jamie Noble, who's a producer, Adam Pearce, who's a producer, and then also Renee Young and Kayla Braxton. We'll get to Renee Young here in a second, but your thoughts on this?
No, and we'd mentioned and talked about this, and they weren't testing for the longest time. There was a reason why they weren't testing, and they didn't want this stuff coming out. And I know how they operate, and I know, and all the talent there know how they operate, and there's no doubt the talent are frustrated. I saw a thing with, I don't know who it was, that said that Vince feels a responsibility to put the fans first as far as giving them programming. And I think it's safe to say we all know that is bullshit. But that is a corporate way to get around everything. The problem where they shoot themselves in the foot with that is they say that and they go, but our talent is our top. Our talent is our top priority in taking care of our talent. Those two things conflict with each other. It's either the fans come first or the talent come first. It's one or the other. So if you're putting the fans first, it's at the expense of the talent. So, and it's that there's no other way around it. You can't say fans come first, because if they were, though, then you would have coronavirus tests from the very beginning, which they didn't. Not at all. All the testing just recently started with a lot of this. And then also we're seeing talent are going and getting tested on their own and finding out they're getting it. That's happening. I know that happened with Renee as well, which is mind blowing that it's not. I just know how it operates, and none of this is a surprise to me. I truly feel for the talent with everything. I do think everything's going to be fine. Again, as far as with healthy people getting the virus, I think it's getting sick. But there are people that have died, and you have to treat it very serious. And I don't know, man. It's a mess, and you got producers getting it who are working with talent all day. So just think about that. Noble and Pierce. Or two producers. How many matches do you think they have throughout a day in interactions with different talent, like talking face to face? A lot. So it's concerning. And you got guys like Roman Reigns sitting at home, like, when does he come back? Why would you? How could he with everything? I don't know.
Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens also skipped the tapings. His wife's, I believe his wife's father had passed away recently. They had a death in the family. Or maybe his wife's grandfather, but due to COVID, Finn Balor recently revealed that his father had COVID and he beat it. So, I mean, this is very real. Obviously, if you're a healthy person and you're not older, it's not going to affect you, but you do.
Yeah,
you can spread it, and you can spread it to loved ones, and so it's something that WWE had not been fully taken care of. They hadn't been doing this COVID testing, and people say, well, they didn't have access to it. I can't believe that they magically had access to all these COVID tests once they have a COVID positive result.
No, they had access to it from the beginning. There's
Yeah,
no,
their ties to Trump and everything. They can get.
There's no, and they're the one sporting agency, entertainment, that are deciding to move forward. This is what my issue from the whole time was. The testing needs to be the most effective, efficient thing possible if you're going to continue with these. And we hear AEW's testing and the way in the handling the situation. Now, that's not to say that you can't still have outbreaks and things, because with this, it's so unpredictable. But the fact that WWE is hiding the names, and I'm hearing the talent or in the dark on things, that right there just tells you everything you need to know. The way they have operated from the beginning, none of this is a shock. It's eventually going to go up in flames, because it's been ran wrong, and Vince has he's a genius as far as making money off of other human beings. And there's no question about that. But when it comes to like what kind of individual you are, I think there's some serious questions.
And I think it goes to show that when we're recording this, SmackDown has not yet aired, but they have basically changed SmackDown to an Undertaker tribute show. And basically, it seems like half of the show is going to be about the Undertaker. They're going to replay the Boneyard match. So clearly, a lot of talent not being able to appear on the show. Matt Riddle and Jeff Hardy are supposed to be on the show, but other than that, again, they're not releasing the names. From what I was told, they told talent not to speak to media. I don't think that they told that to producers and stuff. I think they sent a separate message to talent, but they explicitly said not to speak to media. And here we are now. Renee Young. Here's AEW. They have fans in the stands, so they test everyone coming in.
Yeah.
But the problem with the virus is it can take anywhere from 4 to 7 days before you get symptoms and before it's caught on a test. So Renee Young actually had tested negative when she took the WWE Covid19 test last week. Then she went home, started feeling sick, started getting symptoms. So she took her own Covid19 test on that following Monday, and then she tested positive. Now, again, if she started feeling symptoms 2 days later, Moxley, there's a good chance he could have gotten it. He would have went to the AEW tapings and spread it, and no one would have known, for several days later. So, yeah, I think AEW as well. They need to start the social distancing with the fans in the stands and the masks, because there could be a huge outbreak there as well.
Yeah, no, this whole thing is, and we're seeing it with, Vegas. We have to start wearing masks today, and it's fine. You got to whatever precautions, but it's. Until there's a vaccine or something, it's really, I don't know what to think with all of this, because like the world, and I know they're putting travel restrictions on back east on certain parts of New York, Jersey, and Connecticut. And, is it better for, we talked about it with wrestling, everything else is on hold. We all want the world to get back to normal. I think the world has to get back to normal, but it's really, really difficult with this stuff. And I guess just the uncertainty with all of it. How do you handle this? And, and with wrestling, I know they're trying to do their best, and you brought up like the Taker thing. I guarantee you tonight, if they just showed old Taker matches for 2 hours in a tribute to him, I think the rating would be better than the SmackDown rating.
Probably.
No, I really do. And I think that you need to look at that. I think if they would just put together matches of that in their thing, and it doesn't have to be one show, it could be just 2 hours of random matches with like a little backstory or a little thing and someone hosting. I think it would do better numbers if it was the right package put together, and of what wrestling used to be, and let everyone just go home, because I'm for the talent on all of this, because I am a talent, and I know what's going on with people and probably the chaos with the testing, not being told anything, having to be, show up. They're probably literally just getting texts from Carano, show up now, get tested, like driving, staying in hotels or whatever they're doing, and the people that live there. It's probably very stressful in having to perform in front of no fans and put matches together. And that's all Vince is doing. He wants that content to keep his shows going, so that the money is still rolling in and everything with the TV deals. And he's just doing his best. And, as a business owner, to keep everything profitable during these times, which I understand, but I also, there's human lives you're dealing with, and I'm glad I don't work there.
Well, it did come out this week that AEW in their contract with TNT, they can pull the show, they can get out of the contract if AEW stops producing new content.
Oh, wow.
I would assume WWE and Fox and USA also have something similar in there where they're not paying the full amount. It did come out earlier this year, or gosh, it was probably like a month ago. It feels like a long time ago.
Yeah.
But that Fox gave WWE the okay to do taped episodes because they were supposed to be doing live. So the original plan was WWE was going to keep doing TV live. They got the okay that they can do taped episodes during the pandemic, but those TV contracts are what's keeping wrestling going, and it's a messy situation because you're putting talent's health at risk. But if you're not doing these shows, there's a good chance you could be in breach of contract.
If they lose, in particular, I mean both promotions, but if WWE lost their TV deal with Fox or USA. Mm-hmm. And with that, the way everything and the ratings have dropped so low, they would be royally fucked. Yeah. And it would, from a stock perspective, it would drop rapidly because those TV deals are holding up all the other things that have already fucking caved in. That's a very dangerous thing for them. And
AEW as well.
And being new and putting all that money and expecting to be profitable sooner than they thought. But if they lose that TV deal, they're back to square one. That now you're just burning cash or whatever it is. I understand. It's a shit situation. And this, I think everyone wants it to go to normal. But what happens in wrestling if one of the performers does die? That's going to be a backlash that nobody wants to deal with. And that's going to be because then the entire world is going to look at that and the entire world's going to come crashing down on pro wrestling because that's everyone likes something to be angry over. That to me is a scary situation. Hopefully we never have to fucking talk about that and that never happens. But that is a risk with everything going on. And that is the game that they're playing with all of this, all promotions and stuff. But I try to understand both sides, and I get it. I know you want to put content out, and in wrestling, I want things to be back to normal, and it sucks, man. All the way around, it sucks.
Yeah, we had mentioned Renee Young, so Jon Moxley was kept off of AEW this past week, and probably for the next couple of weeks. He's supposed to be facing Brian Cage on the second week of Fyter Fest. We'll see what happens there, but Moxley, because of his wife Renee Young's positive test result, did not go to the Impact tapings. Also, QT Marshall, he runs his wrestling school in Georgia. He was exposed to someone with COVID, so he didn't attend the tapings. And a lot of his trainees, who are usually in the stands, but there's also like Anna Jay and some of the other ones who have been used on television, they did not travel to the AEW tapings as well. So. Yeah. Coronavirus just really throwing a big dent into WWE and AEW's plans these last couple of weeks. But hopefully everyone stays safe. Everyone that has tested positive recovers, safely, and their friends and their loved ones are safe as well.
Yeah, it's the key, catching it and quarantining them. But the thing is, having effective testing as best as possible. But if we're talking WWE with a number of like 24, when that's out of control already. So we'll have to wait and see what comes out.
One thing also this past week, New York, Connecticut, and New Jersey, they're requiring people to that come in from any of the hotspot states, which would be Florida, to quarantine for 2 weeks. Connecticut is WWE's headquarters. So,
yeah.
If Vince wanted to fly in to Connecticut from Florida, he would have to quarantine. And I think they have measures in place to make sure you're following procedure. So it seems like the plan right now is to fly into Pennsylvania. They're doing everything they can to, skirt these mandates and laws. But to fly into Pennsylvania and then do the drive, it's like a 3-hour drive to Connecticut.
It's crazy. And it's a risky game. I don't know, man. I just hope for the talent's sake everything is all right, and that's
Yeah.
all. And I want wrestling to go back to normal as quickly as possible. But I'm curious too with the mask, Raj. What's the way around if masks are required in a lot of places now? Because I'd assume that's the next play is masks are going to be required everywhere. What's the requirement for performers wrestling? If you're supposed to be in a mask, wearing a mask, and how does that work?
Yeah, so apparently WWE, they feel that they are exempt from the mask policy right now because the Performance Center is a privately owned facility, and so the mask ordinance does not apply in that facility since it's not public. So, with this outbreak, I'm sure, the Orlando officials will probably have to step in at some point because even though it's a privately owned facility, if you got 24 people catching it,
it's a hot spot for the disease, for the virus. Yeah. What a mess.
It's a mess.
Yo, thank you guys for watching Ryback TV. If you could check out my Shooting Blanks Wrestling Report every Monday on all podcast platforms, Conversation with the Big Guy Ryback every Thursday morning on all podcast platforms, and Feed Me More Nutrition, my personal supplement line, available on feedmemore.com and Amazon. Save 10% with discount code YouTube10 and save stupid. Why couldn't you? Almost had it. I almost had the whole video done in one take. New customers, you can save 20% with discount code NEWCUSTOMER on feedmemore.com. Get hungry, stay hungry, feed me more.